Shalom, shalom. First off, we give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, Ba'ashim, Rakakadash. Yahweh being true Heavenly Father, Yahushai being named His only begotten Son, who the world eagerly calls God, Jesus Christ. I want to give double honors to our apostles, double honors to our elders, a great millstone, and touch the truth and will well. And salutations to you, hopefully like pushing this truth and honesty, sincerity. This is Brother Yahweh coaching the lesson to the spirit power of Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahushai. And this lesson's to the spirit, man. Came across an older Jake that I've known for probably past year and a half to 2 years. And was having a conversation with him, after we caught up, because we hadn't seen each other at least about a year. And last time I spoke with him, he was quote unquote happily married. We had spoke on some issues that I had in a previous marriage with a woman that ended probably say like close to 2 years ago now. And I was talking to him, and he kind of caught me off guard. He said, did you know that I tell you that I got divorced? So I'm just like, wow, man. And this is an older Jake. He's probably in his 60s, I'm assuming, but he's pretty decent shape. But I remember last time speaking to him, he was, sometimes he referenced his wife in his situation. And, but for him, for it to not work is nuts, and he brought it up because I told him, he had texted me a while back, and he said that, he wanted to link up and kind of catch up a little bit. And so I was cool with that. And, I told him my situation briefly, a recent custody situation that happened. So he knew that it was evolving, and me and my old lady at the time were no longer together. Okay, so, but last time we did talk, he had been married for probably over 20 years, man, and this is the story that is becoming so common. Everybody is saying that they have a divorce under their belt or in a divorce, or it just didn't work, man. But this is precept. This is Matthew 24:12. It says, "And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold." All right, because we live in a place of sin and confusion, that iniquity is what wicked people get attracted to, and before you know it, consumes their mind and it takes over to the point to where it's sad, it's scary to look at. You can just see them fading away to Satan, and that's because they're enticed by the wickedness of this world. And if you're married to a so-called black woman, I mean, you might as well just forget about it, man. It's only a matter of time before that ends. Okay? Because Eve has a Gardanian pact with Esau, Edom, in the ways of his culture. So most of men are just doing away with it, man. Altogether. And I've heard multiple reports of serious relationships abruptly ending. Okay? And it's crazy, man, but we're in those times, where this is taking place. And people that are not good for you or are in your life to do you harm are being weeded out. The Lord is exposing them, and He's sifting. He's separating us from the evil people in our lives, man. But the love of many has certainly waxed cold. And I was watching this video by this chick. I was trying to look for it to try to upload a clip into this lesson, but I couldn't find it. But she was going around. She made a video speaking on it. She was nothing but the truth. She was talking about how you know, what purpose does a man have to want to marry a woman nowadays? Okay, it always ends terribly bad for him. You know, most women in America, especially if it's a black woman, are not raised in um, a household that involves mother and father. So most of the time, it's single mother household. Okay, and they don't have any type of training for the job that they're applying for. You know, when you go to apply for a job, you don't get hired on it just because you turn in an application. You have to list experience in that field that you're trying to do. And you have many women that are claiming and parading, saying they want a husband, they want marriage. You know, they're all on these dating profiles and they're dating to marry, looking for a long-term relationship, marry, 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 marry. But 90% of them do not have the training or the skill set of a wife. They think that they could just throw some sex and be sweet and get good words, and that makes them an outstanding wife. Or they think they can maybe throw some money at the man, they can get their own job and somewhat half-ass be supportive, you know, and think that that makes them a good woman. You don't understand what it means to be a wife, and you were not brought up on what it means to be a woman either. Okay, so a lot of y'all are putting in applications and you're not qualified. You think you are, but you're not. You think you're automatically qualified because you got a snatch in between your legs. Oh, I'm a woman. I'm qualified to be your wife. You know, I'm pretty. That's good enough for me. It doesn't work like that, man. It takes a lot of work, okay? And it really takes a lifetime of upbringing into the role of a good wife in order to be one. If you did not have and grow up with a permanent example day to day on what a marriage looks like, you are not qualified. You can't count your failed relationships and use your experiences to think that you know something and what a real man is and what a husband is and that you're a good catch. You did not have any training as a child in this area. These women hop on like YouTube and they find these marriage influencers, you know, these guys that are wealthy or rich, and they may have a wife. Like there's this Jake that makes a lot of videos about, you know, how he takes care of his wife, how he loves her, and that, you know, women should be picking any man unless they, you know, they got six figures, and men are less of a man if he doesn't earn like the amount he earns. Unrealistic standards. And these people are putting videos out for content that's clickbait for women that follow this stuff and get mesmerized by it, and they're getting paid off the views and the support. Okay. And that's the only upbringing they have, is what they see on a video. Or sometimes some of them have even watched Kevin Samuels and go on a binge and watch many, many shows and see where women fail at and how they, and really all he showed you is how women basically talk to men. So they develop a pattern, you know, a fake application that, you know, like they get it. And it's just mass because they weren't trained in it their whole life. So they get thrown into a real marriage and they sabotage it. They get bored, they sabotage it, and they become unsatisfied with everything. Nothing is ever good enough because they did not live it. You know, they weren't brought up in their whole life to experience it. So it gets to the point where it becomes like, hey, look, what's supposed to be expected of a woman in the role of a marriage, she should be supportive. She should have good home training, know how to cook very well, know how to clean up, and it be automatic, okay? And it doesn't feel like slavery because they grew up in it, living that way. These women have not. Most of them were not raised on how to be in the kitchen. They were not. These women are not raised like women that are of the 60s, okay? 60s, 40s, and 50s. Back then, all women and the upbringing was different. It molded them to be a wife. This is why you have older people that are in their 70s right now, and you talk to them, and you see old couples that have been married for 50 plus years. They got married and met each other at a time where the mindset was nowhere close to what the mindset is of the women now. Yet the women now still want the same thing that those grandparents have. But for them, it's not genuine. It's not a genuine desire. Okay? They just want it as like a, as a title. I have a husband. It's something to take pictures with and fly on Instagram. Okay? It's like they look at marriage as just an accomplishment toy, something that they grabbed. When you get tired of it, you could just put it away. They're not 100% invested, So what they are invested in is thought and whole culture, and having options and having multiple men, and they may get a guy they think is really good looking, has this, that, this and that, and it makes them look good together on social media. When they post pictures, and it's very short lived. They get bored over time. It becomes not good enough. Why? Because they didn't take it serious. And the love of many is cold. So it's not wise to even try it, man. This is 1 Corinthians 7:27. It says, Art thou bound unto a wife? Seek not to be loose. Art thou loose from a wife? Seek not a wife. Okay? So are you bound? You come across this lesson? Are you already married to a woman? Okay? Seek not to be loose, meaning don't seek to end it unless you got real reason. And the number one reason, the main, is adultery. Okay? Fornication. If your woman's cheating on you, it's done. If she's talked to men, if she's created a dating profile since meeting you and committed to you, and even during your differences, have she gone and attempted to date other men? That's adultery. You cut it off and don't pick it back up. Okay? Also, is she combative? Is she disrespectful? Is she completely non-submissive and giving you agonizing stress? Extremely argumentative. All right, that's another justification. You need to cut it off, man, because she will not go as thou wouldest have her, as the scriptures say. Okay, but if you got a woman and you're not experiencing those things, don't seek to be loose just because you don't want the responsibility no more. Sometimes men get wore out, and having a woman is just as much responsibility as having a child. In many cases, it can almost be mirrored in how you got to talk to them and treat them, because they just, they're unwise, man. They do a lot of stupid stuff that create permanent consequences for the rest of their lives. It says, "Art thou loose from a wife? Seek not a wife." So if you did go through a divorce, okay, after it's done, you were loosed. You were loose from a wife. So seek not a wife. Don't go back looking for it again. Okay? Because you should know and understand the curses that we're in, and the mindset of these women is not going to be right. There's no amount of talking to, and you can show them a lot of scriptures you learn from lessons like this. Hey, you see, you're supposed to do this. You're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to do that. Hey, it's one ear out the other, man. And eventually, a spiritual demon will hop on them to where they'll be completely blocked for everything of this truth. And they'll go all the way down south into someone else's bed. And it's too late. So don't seek a wife, man. All right? The love of many has waxed cold. So these people will turn on you and be extremely evil to you. You got to understand, like, people, in order to be in this truth, they got to gravitate towards it the same passion you gravitate towards it and how they come across. The Heavenly Father would pick them to learn about this truth, just like He picked you to learn about it. He didn't choose the woman that you chose to pop. Just because you popping her, automatically she gonna get it. No, it don't work like that. Okay? And 9 out of 10, if you try to remotely mention anything about this truth or try to teach her or edify her about it, she gonna buck up, get turned off, and go the other way. Because these people do not believe in the Lord. They just acknowledge the Lord's existence as a good luck charm, which is why they walk around and they'll go buy a little cross to put on their necklace. And that's where it stops at when it comes to the faith. They think they're good enough to just say, oh, I know that God exists. That's it. So they don't live their lives on keeping anything. There's zero discipline, zero structure, no keeping of the commandments. They can read all day, and a lot of times it's just for show, because they want other people to look at them as a good God-fearing person. So they want that type of title and image. So it's all about appearance and pleasing others instead of genuinely and sincerely accepting Yahweh Shem Yahushua in their hearts and studying. You know, if you're not coming across a person in that like-minded mindset, okay, then hang it up. Your marriage is going to end in a divorce. Verse 28 says, but, and if thou marry, thou hast not sinned. And if a virgin marry, she hath not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh. But I spare you. Okay? So he's telling you, hey, look, giving you advice. Don't seek to be married. Don't even seek a wife. But if you do, yeah, technically you didn't commit a sin, but you ignored the fact that the Lord set in stone a certain curse. This is Amos 7:17. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, thy wife shall be an harlot in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou shalt die in a polluted land. And Israel shall surely go into captivity forth of his land. Okay, so part of that prophecy that you're seeing is being fulfilled in these times is everybody's wife is becoming a harlot in the city, or a hoe in the city. You know, they'll leave you and go get a bottom of the barrel nigga. It won't be an upgrade from you. You know, and in some ways, it may be an upgrade of their opinion on how he looks. He might be taller or better shape, but that's it. It won't be an all around upgrade. It'll be a downgrade, and sometimes they'll just go deal with a bum. Why? Because it makes them feel more confident with themselves, more comfortable. It's less mental responsibility that they have to keep up with. They have to uphold a certain standard when being with a man of Yahweh Shem Shai. A lot of them know that they deep down on their side, they're evil and they're wicked, and they don't want to be a part of righteousness. So they rather just go get a thug, you know, some dude from the street, a bum that's, hey, not even remotely on your level, you know, but they rather go deal with that because it's easier. Okay, so this curse you really can't get away from. Your wife, no matter how old you are, how long you've been married, will end up being a harlot in the city. Because, you know, that Jake I had that conversation with, like I say, he's in his 60s, probably going on to into his 70s. Okay, and he might be in his late 50s, you know, but I'm pretty sure he's in his 60s. You know, and he just got a divorce. So here it is. I'm thinking about this old, you know, he's up in his age. The woman, his wife, man, this old fucking hag got the audacity to think she's gonna go out in her 60s to go get somebody else. Like, you've been married for over 20 something years and you still want to go back to play the field. Like, where is your mind at? What are you thinking? They done got grandkids together. Hell, probably working on great grandkids. multiple homes purchased and traveled, different countries, all sorts of things, man. And these women, at the end of the day, they can't help it. That curse will kick in. So their minds just get, taken over by hostage by a little demon. And they just completely go left. And living it as we get closer to the end, the Lord is setting up Eve to get the worst of the worst of her judgment. Her judgment has been long overdue. So a lot of these women don't realize they're leaving all these men, think they coming up. They're being set up by the Heavenly Father to get judged, because that's the worst position state a woman could be in, is when Jacob's trouble hit and you do not have a husband. No man, no husband, no nothing, nobody to protect you. You are done. So a lot of these women are becoming single because they've been living their life wickedly, sneaking behind the scenes, doing shit, talking to other men, getting involved in all these pagan ritualistic witchcraft shit, man, with all these holidays and stuff. And the Lord has been fed up with it for a long time. Okay, but with this curse, man, it's not something you can avoid. And you're almost guaranteed your wife just to turn in the spirit at any moment to switch to be a harlot. That's why you gotta mentally accept yourself when you beat somebody. Maybe you're younger, so you're burning. You might need to get you a little, a little woman every once in a while. You may want that, especially when you're younger. But you gotta treat it as it's just your turn. So when you understand, you accept the concept of having to take turns with these women, then you know that it's not going to last forever. Because they'll tell you everything perfect that, resonates with your spirit, that you felt, oh, this is the one. She understands me, finally met somebody. And then, like, so 6 months to a year later, it just flips. And you don't know this person at all. Okay? So just treat it that, hey, look, it's your turn. That's it. And you have to be willing to take turns on another ride. Sometimes, once your turn's over, it's permanently over. And that's how it is when you're dealing with Eve. And most women in America on the side, it says in our arrests, it's not of every brother's lot to have a wife by him, man. As much as you might want it. Okay? So every brother has his gift of things that he's got, that the Lord blesses him with in his life. Not everybody has that to where you can have a wife, man. The Lord said, hey, he was sending curses on our people for not keeping the law, statutes, commandments. And this is one of our curses we got to go through, is our women not belonging to us and backstabbing us and going against us. Being a harlot in the city. But remember, in 1 Corinthians 7, it says, nevertheless, such shall, verse 28 says, but and if thou marry, thou hast not sinned, and if a virgin marry, she hath not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh, but I spare you, right? So it's trouble in the flesh, man. It's all it is. You get some box, it feels good, but eventually you get hurt enough, you start becoming numb, and I'm at the point right now, I'm just losing interest altogether and becoming more like Paul, but trouble in the flesh, man, once you deal with them. And it just becomes repetitive. It's the same story. You meet them, they all say the same things, what they're looking for. They all tell you the same things to try to get you hooked on them. It just becomes repetitive, and it just becomes, everything just looks fake and boring over time. So if you haven't felt like that and you continue to keep trying, you're going to start feeling it. You will have trouble in the flesh. And it's better right now in these times we are, to just keep your eyes single on Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. Okay, and focus on that. Because having a distraction of a woman when it's just going to end up in a breakup anyway, and she's going to hop back on a carousel, is not worth your time. Okay, verse 29 says, "But this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none." So you're supposed to be so locked into this truth and this word. If you do have a wife, it should look and appear on the outside that you don't have one, because you're just constantly, focusing on helping the ministry and doing what you got to do. And being pulled away like that, these women, they've been brainwashed to think you're here to serve them and you're being on their time. So they feel like it's an attack, or they're unappreciated if you don't give them a certain amount of your time. And you dedicating this much time to being a prophet is not going to be acceptable with any woman. Okay? So, it's best just to not even worry about it if you can. Ultimately, man. But if you have a wife, be as though you had none. I mean, you're so busy and focused on this truth. Other brothers might not even know you got a wife. That's how it is. But it takes a woman of faith, true faith in Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, so that doesn't bother her, because she understands that your service and your duty to this is her ticket to get delivered. So she shouldn't say nothing against it. She get her time with you when she get her time. And she should be able to have enough skill set, keep her mind preoccupied with running that household and them kids, to where she's not even tripping on you, because you're spending so much time in this ministry. But these women, like I said, don't have no faith, man. They don't believe in this. Your woman does not believe in the truth. You could teach her the name of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, and she could say it fantastic. She could start speaking all the Hebrew letters, and everything, wrapping her hair up. She still does not believe. It's all a show. Women will tell you what you want to hear to continue to get the benefits out of you. And then once they see something there, they feel like they've got something else better locked in, that's when they'll be the most cruel to you that you can imagine. And then the heartbreak comes, man. Next thing you know, you find out she was another dude. So just be though as you had none if you got one. This is Proverbs chapter 6. I will start verse 23. It says, "For the commandment is a lamp, for the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life, to keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of the strange woman. Lust not after her beauty in thine heart, neither let her take thee with her eyelids," right? So you got to really be able to have the discipline to look past an extremely attractive woman. Okay? Brother's been there, done that. I've had that experience before, man. Last year I met a dime. The woman was bad. I mean, coke bottle figure, everything. But I had the discipline to look past that, to not be a simp and be taken advantage of, because she made an attempt to do that. And because I wasn't so emotionally invested, I was easily able to walk away. Despite how, bad she was. And there's a lot of men, and she showed me the men on her phone, men that have been sipping over her. This woman had probably over 10,000, followers on Facebook. Close to, some of them posts at like 100 million, 100,000s of likes, from the photos. And she literally would be bad enough to be put in somebody's music video, man. Gorgeous woman, man. So, but Jake got to be disciplined, so I didn't let that pull me, the beauty of her looks pull me into things that she wanted me to do. it became very clear she had a certain agenda, things that she was after that I had. A lot of things was monetary. But I saw right through that, man. You got a lot of Jake. They get a fine piece of box like that, and they lose their mind, lose all their shit, man. You know. But I was able to walk away permanently and never look back because I didn't lust after her beauty. You know, I got what I needed, and that's it. It says, "For by means of a whorish woman, a man is bought to a piece of bread, and the adulteress will hunt for the precious life." Right, man. Okay. For by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread. Right. You get so broke down, you're low to where all you can afford is a little piece of bread. Meanwhile, you know, she's got all these other options on her phone. It says, and the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. So a woman that cheats on men and, you know, has a what they call a rotation now on their phone. They have a rotation of different people they can constantly call for niggas for different shit. Okay? They will hunt for the precious life. These women are out here murderers. They're looking to use and take advantage of a lot of men. They get impregnated. A lot of them become literal murderers because they get abortions. You know, same woman I was referencing earlier. She told me she had like multiple abortions, man. That's what I was done. I was like, ah, that's it. Not dealing with that. You know, but hey, they will hunt for the precious life. Okay? So to keep away from the strange woman, flattery of tongue, lust not after her beauty. So don't let, just because you deal with a chick for a while, she's fine, let that get to your head and you let your guard down. And she come in, next thing you know, she'll clean you out, man. Clean you out. She'll try to ruin your life and she'll fuck up your health. Many men are in jail right now behind women. They get too emotionally attached and it goes left and they don't want it to go left, so they try to force the course. The scriptures say the jealousy is the rage of a man, so they find out that, you know, the chick they dealing with is dealing with another man, and now they ready to, you know, commit acts to get life in prison. You know? And sitting there getting 10, 20, 30 years on attempted murder because you found out your girl was cheating on you and stole all your money and did all this shit. Just don't invest to the point to where it even gets remotely near that point. You gotta be willing to look at this person that you're dealing with and accept that, hey, look, well, it's my turn right now. I'll make the most of it out of this time that I got, and then be willing to walk away. That's the best mindset you could be in. Now, Isaiah 4:1 will come eventually, you know, so you will have, you know, permanent wives that will want to be with you. But you have to understand that's not really going to take place till a time of chaos really begins. Like, these women still don't have anything to worry about in their mind. They see what's going on in the news, but nothing's happening in U.S. soil yet. They're still able to go buy food, still able to go to vacations. Until all those things get cut off, that's when it's going to start pulling out, you know, the women that really supposed to be wives. They're going to start pulling out and come gravitating towards you. Okay? Brothers are seeing it now, you know. A few brothers going through testimonies and experiencing that firsthand. But ultimately, man, hey, right now, the last thing you should be focusing on is trying to plan a wedding and build a future with a woman when there's not going to be no future with her. Her heart is not set on you. And most time, they really can't pair bond you. They're just pretending like they are. They can't pair bond with you, man. They've done it too many times. Everything just feels fake. They can't accept that you actually have a real, genuine person this time. So eventually they get uncomfortable, uneasy, and they do what they can to cause a breakup. Okay, so seek not a wife, man. you know. But these times, man, hey, just focus on your how about Shimmy Out Shine, what's going on in the world, because that's what's more important. But with that, Lord's will, the lessons edifying. We're going to close out. Give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Shimmy Out Shine, by Shimmy Kakadash. I want to give double honor to our apostles and elders, great millstones, taught us truth and will well. And salutations to you, hopefully, that Christian is truth and honesty, sincerity. Shalom.